Ooh, boy, I gotta get some ice, rub it all over my body, man, because I am feeling the heat from that quote. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll get into it as the video goes on. But today we're talking about the Calgary Flames, and we're talking about one of the best interviewees amongst the entire NHL's coaching staff, Darryl Sutter. There was a press conference done with Sutter earlier in the week, wherein the Calgary Flames head coach was asked by a member of the media a pretty strange question. I mean, to be honest, I don't really understand why this question in particular came up. Like, what exactly is the implication that's trying to be made here? But either way, maybe I'm just missing the context because I did only see a 13-second clip of this question and the answer following it, and not the entire press conference itself. And because this is such a short clip, it's one sentence of a question and it's one sentence of an answer, I was actually able to go out there and transcribe it myself. So there you go, patting myself on the back for that one. Darryl Sutter gets asked this: as far as their skill sets, any comparisons between Tkachuk and Toffoli? Obviously talking about Matthew Tkachuk, former Calgary Flames superstar and current Florida Panthers 8-year extension signee, the very first player to be signed and traded in the NHL's history. He's being compared to Tyler Toffoli, of all people. Now again, I don't know why this is a specific comparison being made, but we'll get into these two as the video goes on. Darryl Sutter, as stone cold as he is, takes a little bit of a second to collect his thoughts a little bit before answering with the most deadpan voice, facial expression, and attitude, saying, one guy's won Stanley Cups. Been a part of long playoff runs. Oh my goodness, what a burn. Like, I know it's a simple question, and it's a very simple answer, but talk about taking the piss out of your guy when he's traded away, eh? Darryl Sutter goes out there and pretty much layeth the smack down on Matthew Tkachuk for his lack of playoff success and lack of playoff credentials. Now, I'm not going to go out there and make it seem like Darryl Sutter is saying that Tyler Toffoli is a better hockey player than Tkachuk because he's been a part of long playoff runs and he's won the Stanley Cup before, but this is kind of what a coach is supposed to do, right? Gas up your own guys. Don't really give any room for debate amongst the media or the fans. Oh, did Darryl Sutter just say that he'd rather have this guy that they sent away than another guy on his own team? Like, of course, Matthew Tkachuk is a talented hockey player, but in the sly, cunning, cool, calm, collected fashion that Darryl Sutter is able to talk about things because, you know, he's kind of deadpan whenever he says anything to the media. He's like, yeah, okay, you talk about comparisons between Tkachuk and Toffoli. One of them's won playoff rounds. One of them's got a Stanley Cup to his name. The other doesn't. Now, I also did want to clarify just a little bit because, of course, Darryl Sutter has had Tyler Toffoli before. He was a part of the LA Kings organization when Toffoli and that 70s line with Tanner Pearson and Jeff Carter were doing their thing. It is kind of interesting saying that one guy's won Stanley Cups. Cups with the S at the end, because Tyler Toffoli only has one Stanley Cup. He won in 2014. In 2012, Tyler Toffoli was unfortunately not a part of the LA Kings full-time roster just yet. He had made the team the next season. So maybe it's a little bit of a misunderstanding for Darryl Sutter internally, saying that Toffoli has won multiple cups instead of winning one. But at the same time, the playoff runs thing kind of speaks for itself as well, because not only did Tyler Toffoli make the Stanley Cup Finals and win the Stanley Cup with the LA Kings, he also made the Stanley Cup Finals in 2021 with the Montreal Canadiens. He was a free agent signee there. He had 44 points in 52 games, played 28 goals on the season as well. Felt like half of those goals came against the Vancouver Canucks in the North Division. But Tyler Toffoli was a playoff performer. In the 2014 Stanley Cup victory with the Kings, he had 14 points in 26 games. When the Canadiens went to the finals in 2021, he had 14 points in 22 games. So, playoff pedigree matters, man. It does. Toffoli also made the second round with the Calgary Flames last season, getting 5 points in 12 games over there. Matthew Tkachuk, on the other hand, had himself 10 points in the 12-game sample with Calgary as well. Of course, Tkachuk made his debut with the Calgary Flames in 2016-17, and the Flames did not actually break past the first round of the playoffs until last season when they lost to Edmonton in the second round. So, I guess, if you're talking about just the comparison between both of these players, the playoff edge is very clearly in Toffoli's favor. It's kind of funny, though, because the question was, as far as their skill sets go, what is the comparison between these two guys? And I mean, Sutter doesn't even say anything that's related to their skill set. I mean, it's great that Toffoli has won cups, or he's won a cup and made the finals twice, but that's not really a part of his skill set, is it? It's just a piece of hockey experience that lies dormant in his mind that potentially could help him heading into the future. If I were to go out there and compare each of these two guys, it's pretty much no contest, and I think everybody kind of knows that. There's a reason why Tkachuk was signed to a 9.5 AAV by 8-year deal, because the guy had 104 points last season in, 82 games played? He's very literally a 100-point player. Meanwhile, Tyler Toffoli had 23 points in 37 games with the Flames and 26 points in 37 games with the Canadiens, so what is that, 74 total games played and 49 points? That's not bad. I mean, it kind of works out well with the contract. You're not really overpaying for a guy who can produce like that, but at the same time, playoff success is playoff success. There is also, of course, the individual skill sets. Matthew Tkachuk is faster than Toffoli. Toffoli, I'm not gonna lie, man, the guy's kind of a slug out there, and I love Toffoli. I watched him with the Canadiens and the Canucks. He's a very good player, very skilled with his hands, very good on the boards, very good at shooting, but his foot speed is lacking a little bit. Tkachuk's, though, nah, he's pretty good at that. He also has a very good playmaking element to his game. He can go through the legs, he can bat pucks out of midair, he can score goals while falling down. Matthew Tkachuk is an all-round offensive dynamo with some bite. He gets under the opponent's skin, he's physical, he can fight, he can do a whole bunch of stuff that is very difficult to find in one individual other player. I mean, I guess aside from his brother, but Matthew Tkachuk is a number one first-line superstar in the NHL, and there's a reason why he was traded over to Florida for such an extensive package, including Huberdeau and Weegar. Now, it's going to be interesting seeing how the Calgary Flames handle their forward situation with the lack of Tkachuk in the lineup, because the question now is, hey, are Huberdeau and Kadri going to be good enough to replace what Gaudreau and Tkachuk ended up leaving? I get it, Huberdeau is also a 100-point player, and Nazem Kadri scored at a 100-point pace last year over 82 games, but of course the season hasn't begun yet. We're still going to be speculating our heads off because that's what the hockey media world ends up doing, and I guess because of the change of top point producers on this team, it's fair to go out there and say, hey, Tyler Toffoli, he is a pretty good player, he's a pretty good scorer for Montreal, and he terrorized the Vancouver Canucks. What about him? Maybe he's a guy who can step up playing a full 82 games under Darryl Sutter once again, because he had done that in the past. So maybe if you're looking for the Tkachuk and the production and the value that he provided, let's talk about Toffoli, which is why they brought it up. I mean, it would make a lot more sense to me if it was like, oh, compare Huberdeau and Tkachuk. What skills do you see shared between those guys? But Toffoli and Tkachuk? Yeah, I'm sorry, one of them is a superstar caliber guy that is worth the 9.5 AAV on a good year, and the other is Tyler Toffoli, who is very good, circumstantially speaking, but he's not in the same caliber, I feel. But still, Darryl Sutter went out there and found a way to lay the smackdown on his former 100-point score and give all the props in the world to a guy whom he won the Stanley Cup with in Tyler Toffoli back in 2014. Talk in the comments your thoughts about the Calgary Flames and where they're going to be going from here with the forward core that they have. How well do you think Tyler Toffoli is going to perform this season? And what do you think about Matthew Tkachuk and the way he might respond to said comments? You know somebody's going to go out there when the Flames and the Panthers eventually play each other sometime down the line, and the media is going to be on Tkachuk saying, hey, so you know Darryl Sutter said that Tyler Toffoli has more cups and stuff than you when asked to compare you guys? I mean, what are your thoughts about that? And I guess Tkachuk might say something like, oh, you know, like, he's right? Like, I mean, I gotta go out there and win some hardware to really prove myself. But either way, talk in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. ROASTS 99, and bye.